Welcome to Crisis in Perception, where we examine the system shaping our world, one book at a time. Today, we're diving into Jared Diamond's Why is Sex Fun?, a book that tackles a huge scientific puzzle. Why is our sexuality so profoundly different from that of almost every other animal?
Okay, so let's just get right into it. Diamond kicks things off by framing our sex lives as, well, honestly, just plain weird.
This quote is perfect because it forces us to see ourselves from the outside. From a typical animal's perspective, our behaviors are just bizarre. We have sex for fun, not just to procreate. We do it in private. We keep having sex even when a woman is pregnant or past menopause. As Diamond points out, if your dog could talk, it would probably tell you this is all a massive, confusing waste of time and energy.
And this is where you can really see the core mystery laid out so clearly. For most mammals, it's pretty straightforward. Ovulation is advertised loud and clear, sex is strictly for making babies, and dads are usually long gone after conception. But with humans, we've completely flipped the script. Ovulation is hidden, sex is mostly for recreation, and fathers often stick around to help raise the kids. So the real question is, why? Why did we evolve to be the exception to the rule?
So, to solve a puzzle this big, Diamond turns to a really powerful tool: the lens of comparative evolutionary biology.
See, to figure out what makes us unique, you can't just look at humans in a vacuum. You have to compare us to our closest living relatives, the great apes. Diamond argues that along with our giant brains and the fact that we walk upright, our really strange sexuality is the third pillar of what makes us human. It's one of the key things that marks our decisive split from our shared ancestors.
The core idea here is that sexual behavior isn't just random, it's a strategy. Just like a fish's fin or a bird's wing, it evolves under very specific pressures. What works for a praying mantis, where the female might eat the male, is a terrible strategy for a human. Every species' sexuality is basically a unique solution to a unique set of problems it faced way back in its evolutionary past. Okay, and this right here, this brings us to the absolute heart of Diamond's entire argument. The key that unlocks the whole puzzle of human sexuality lies in one single, massive problem our ancestors had to solve.
And that problem is our children. Think about it. A baby horse can walk within hours. A baby chimp can cling to its mother. But a human infant, it is uniquely, profoundly helpless for years. Raising one to the point where it can survive on its own is this monumental investment of time and energy. Way too much for a single mother to handle all by herself in a hunter-gatherer world.
So this creates a huge evolutionary dilemma. If a male just follows the typical animal script and leaves right after impregnating a female, his own genes are at risk because his kid probably won't survive. The question for evolution then becomes, how do you get the father to actually stick around and invest? How do you solve for that?
Well, Diamond's answer is just so elegant. He argues that our entire sexual system evolved as this interlocking solution. It's not a collection of weird, separate quirks. It's a single, coherent strategy designed for cooperation.
And here's the logic, how it all flows together. It starts with concealed ovulation. A male can't just show up at the right time, mate, and leave, because he has no idea when the female is fertile. This encourages constant sexual receptivity, what we call recreational sex, which basically acts as the glue for a long-term pair bond. And it's that pair bond that ultimately secures the father's investment, making sure he sticks around to help raise the kids so they can survive.
But what's really interesting is that this system probably didn't just appear all at once. The book suggests that concealed ovulation's first job wasn't even to create monogamy. Instead, way back when our ancestors might have lived in more promiscuous groups, its purpose was likely to confuse paternity. If a bunch of different males in a group think they might be the father, none of them has an incentive to harm the infant, which is actually a common threat in many primate species.
And this highlights a really cool concept in evolution called exaptation. Basically, a trait evolves for one reason, but then it gets co-opted for a completely new purpose later on. So once concealed ovulation was already in place, it created the perfect conditions for a brand new strategy to emerge, using it not just to confuse paternity among many males, but to secure paternity for one male within a pair bond, which encouraged him to invest. So what this all adds up to is a fundamental shift in evolutionary strategy. For most animals, sex is a single transaction. It's a brief encounter, the goal is insemination, and the male is gone. For humans, it became the foundation of a long-term cooperative contract, where the goal wasn't just getting pregnant, but this massive, shared project of raising a child together.
And once you grasp this evolutionary logic, it really gives you a completely new perspective on ourselves and our relationships.
I think the big takeaway from all this is that things like pair bonding and co-parenting, they aren't just cultural inventions we came up with. These behaviors have deep, deep evolutionary roots. They were forged as a biological solution to the incredible challenge of raising our uniquely helpless children.
And that leaves us with a really fascinating question to think about. If our most intimate behaviors are so deeply shaped by this ancient need for cooperation, what else in our complex modern world, from our economic systems to our social structures, might just be an echo of this fundamental evolutionary contract?
For the full long-form deep dive into this book and its ideas, follow the link in description.
If you enjoy this kind of systems-level analysis, please like, subscribe, and comment with books or topics you'd like us to explore next.